Again, do you know? Do you know?
Ah, no, you are doing when you are. I don't feel something.
I get the billy when. Uglar Chazara Haki read. Shelling, speaker. Shelling is abusing me.
Shelling.
Shelling.
No, I'm not. Speaker, he's asking, I mean, she's asking me for the jury duty and now she wants to even take this, everything that is here. So I must check, no, you must take, don't take the chamber's things there.
Thank you, councillors. Can we settle down, please? Thank you, councillors. Can we please settle down?
No, you can take it.
Councillors, we are going to be busy up until 9:30, and I'd like to squeeze in as much as possible between this 1.5 hour. So if we can settle down and start. Don't want to keep you too late here. Thank you, Secretary.
We are on item 22, which is a performance assessment report for the Public Safety Department for the 2021-22 financial year for the period January to March 2022. Right together with item 61, which is an oversight report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee on the 2021-22 third quarter performance report of the Department of Public Safety for the period January to 31st of March 2022.
Chairperson Maila.
Oh. As I use your thingy. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of council, the people of Johannesburg, greetings and salutations. It is my singular honor and privilege to table the oversight report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee in relation to the Department of Public Safety's third quarter performance report for the 2021-2022 financial year, which essentially speaks to the progress made by the department against the service delivery and budget implementation plan for the period January and March 2022. The word oversight is defined in the English lexicon as the action of overseeing something. To oversee is to supervise. And when you supervise, you visually observe and direct the execution of the work of someone or the functioning of a particular institution. That's what we in the legislative arm of council do when we perform our oversight functions on the departments and entities of this great city. We do this empowered by the provisions of Section 1521 of the Constitution of the Republic, which place an obligation on us inter alia to provide democratic and accountable government for local communities. Mr. Speaker, the committee remains convinced that government's #1 duty and its highest obligation is public safety. While significant progress has been made by the department during the quarter under review, we remain concerned that the department has had to function without a full-time chief of police for more than 2 years. The number of funded managerial vacancies in the department has reached epidemic proportions. This situation, without doubt, constitutes the biggest threat to the stability of the department. It is our commitment to ensure that all funded vacancies in the department are filled without any further delay. Mr. Speaker, I ask of Council to consider the department's reports as tabled. I thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Sitole, ACDP. Councillor Sitole, ACDP, is not in the House. Councillor Mhlongo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Good evening to my fellow councillors. Good evening to the Secretary of the Minority Opposition Bloc and the Chairperson of the Minority Opposition Bloc. Mr. Speaker, I raise on item 22, Performance Assessment Report for the Public Safety Department for the 2021-2022 financial year for the period January to March 2022, read together with item 61, Oversight Report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee on the 2021-2022 third quarter performance report of the Department of Public Safety. Speaker, allow me, Speaker, to draw the leaf, Speaker, from Councillor Pagati's goat, Speaker, when he said the storm is brewing. I just want to assure him that although the storm is brewing, we are prepared for it, because when it brews, it won't brew on top of this building, it will be brewing inside this building. Speaker, the committee has picked up many senior management vacancies that have not been filled or occupied in the JMPD department. And those vacancies, Speaker, if you find ones that are filled, Speaker, they are filled on an acting personnel or capacity. Speaker, this is a great concern to the committee. We also noticed that during our oversight visit to Protea Glen Fire Station, that the station is not in good condition, where its front doors, Speaker, are broken. Despite all these observations, there is a hope at the end of the tunnel. That there is a hope at the end of the tunnel. Let me thank the Chairperson, Speaker of Public Safety Portfolio Committee, Councillor Solomon Maila, for steering this committee, Speaker, in the right direction without fear or favor. Let me also hope that the Chairperson, Speaker, will not allow his party, the Democratic Alliance, to tell him to refer the matters that need the attention of JMPD to be referred to FBI. Let me just repeat that. Chairperson, I hope you won't allow the DA to sway you for the matters that needs to be investigated by JMPD to be referred to the FBI. The same way, Speaker, that they are taking the information of the grabber that is inside here to Israel, Speaker. In those words, Speaker, let me just thank you in this House, Speaker. Thank you.
Councillor Maruma. Councillor Maruma. Not present. Councillor Marumu is not present. Can we go on? Thank you. Councillor.
Speaker. Sorry, Speaker. It's Councillor Molla going to speak on behalf of Councillor Marum. Sorry.
Councillor who?
Councillor Malulek.
Councillor Maluleke.
Thanks. Thanks, Speaker. Speaker, we noted the report, but Chair, Speaker, as the ANC, we are noting this report with a greatest disappointment. of the inability of the DA-led municipality government to govern the city of Johannesburg, Chair, with a marriage of convenience. Speaker, we have observed that the current administration has withdrawn all the JMPD in our townships and deployed them in the inner city. Chair, evidence to that is that you can see every time when we arrive here, all JMPDs are surrounding this building. And we're not sure, Chair, whose private security is that. But Chair, before the DA makeshift kind of this marriage, the coalition came into power with a back door. And the first thing that they've done, Chair, was to withdraw the 10 plus.
Councillor Maleke, you're not audible. If you
The
can
first
speak
thing they
into the
did, Chair,
mic.
was to withdraw the 10 plus that was in the townships that used to protect our communities. The level of crime is too high, Chair, and there's no visibility of JMPD that is meant to protect the citizens of Johannesburg. Chair, Speaker, let me remind the House that as we see this Nyalas, we are taken back to the horrible days of apartheid policy, Chair, it reminds us of the time of apartheid, Chair, when Nyalas will used to run around in our townships, in our schools and all this, and you know what used to happen in those areas, Chair. Now, Speaker, we are appealing as the African National Congress that we at least, Chair, go back to the JMP, go back to the townships. We also suggested that the 10 metropolises that are in the wards, at least those commanders should have a WhatsApp groups that will include councillors. And we are saying this, Chair, because you can see that on weekly basis, councillors are attacked on the issues of electricity and all that. And Chair, it is difficult for those councillors to report those attacks because as and when they call JMPD, it will be that somebody is not on duty and it is somebody else. They will report a call, it will be referred to another person who is not in the province and all that. So this means, Chair, that the life of councillors, it's always in danger with this with this protest that the JMPD is not there to. The JMPD, part of it, Chair, is to protect councillors, and it's supposed to be happening on a daily basis, and the community at large in our areas. Chair, Speaker and the House, let me let you know that the DA-led administration has no intention of preventing and saving lives of our people in the townships. As we speak, we do not have ambulances, we do not have fire engines that are there for emergency services in our areas. Very few, Chair. We have done oversight. We have seen broken fire engines that are not available for services. At some point, it takes weeks for them to be repaired and all that.
Speaker.
So some of them will even go to a month or two. And this, Chair,
Councillor Maleke, There's a
Chair,
point of order.
But Chair, you know that man. Can I just finish?
There's a point of order.
But
Can you take your seat? Motsama Hansi.
No. Chair. Chair.
No, Motsama Hansi.
No.
Councillor,
That one was way.
Councillor Stole, what is your point of order?
Thank you.
No, you sit down, Councillor. No, please sit down, Councillor. No, you must sit down. Councillor, sit down. You said so. Are you chairing the meeting? Please sit down. Take your seat, Councillor. Councillor Stolle.
Thank you, Speaker. I request that Speaker grant me opportunity to see Ian parking in Alumas Puma. But I'm standing, Speaker, in a point of order, I just want to address this. I think it's the last time for me to address this. I feel offended when I'm called DA-led government. Can you please, the councillor, withdraw that, please? Please, we are not DA-led government.
Councillor
Attention, Bushiri.
Councillor Stolle, it's not a point of order, thanks. You will respond when you're given the time. Councillor Maluleke.
No, thanks, Chair.
Who's your mayor, Baba? Who's your mayor?
Chair, thanks. And Councillor Stolle is not the only adopted child by the DA in this house.
Councillor Maluleke, there's another point of order. Please take your
Chair.
seat.
It's fine, Speaker. I was just saying, Councillor Stolle is not
There
the
is a
only
point
one
of
adopted
order,
by the
Councillor.
DA.
Please take your seat.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor, please rise on, what is your point of order?
Speaker, the councillor called another councillor by that man. Can you withdraw? We don't call other men.
This is not perfect wedding when.
Thank you, Councillor. You are correct, Councillor. Please refer to other councillors in the House as councillor, and then the name. Thanks.
But, Speaker, you used to ask people on which rule do they stand, but others...
I can't hear you, Councillor. The mic is not...
Speaker, I'm
yes.
saying you used to ask people on which rule do they stand, but there are others that you are not asking them. And I'm just saying, Speaker, we are watching you. But Speaker, the ambulance license chair is very important for the city of Johannesburg if we have to protect lives. Because Gauteng alone, Chair, with the population that we have in Johannesburg, will not manage the community that we have, especially in the townships where we do not have these 24-hour hospitals and clinics. So it becomes a problem if Johannesburg doesn't have ambulances. And we therefore, Chair, appealing for the mayor in absence to say it is very important that we renew the ambulance licenses so that we can save lives in this glorious city. The city of gold, Chair. It will be again the city of gold. For now, I think we are still trying to find where gold is, but it's still there. Speaker, allow me to say the JMPD or Chair, the city has to be responsible for the loss of lives in the townships. One where city power is failing to maintain street lights and to provide street lights in other areas. Because as a result, Chair, there are no, like we are indicating, there are no JMPDs in the townships. There are no street lights in the townships. So it means, Chair, there is no good life for our people. This tells us that once it's winter like this, the level of crime increases because it's dark, there are no street lights, because there are no police, there's no police visibility in the township. So we are appealing that as much as the ESD is failing to maintain street lights, the city power is failing to maintain street lights, Chair, with the department that there's no intention of changing the lives of our people, let the JMPD run the streets of Ivory Park, Deep Sloot, Alexander, Orange Farm, and not only in suburbs where you are staying and your colleagues, because we know, Chair, that this city, since last year in December, I've not seen it in November, but in December, they've withdrawn all JMPDs and deployed them in suburbs where you are residing, Chair. Thanks, Speaker.
Councillor Mabele.
Greetings to all the councillors, Speaker of Council, Executive Mayor in absentia, MMCs, the residents of the city of Johannesburg, and most importantly, the caucus leader of Action SA, Funzi Ngubeni. And not forgetting Councillor Arnold. I rise on item 22, read together with item 61. Speaker, as Action SA, we note and accept the performance assessment report for the third quarter. As Action SA, we believe that the work of fixing South Africa starts with our local government. Speaker, as part of the multi-party government, not DA-led, we have made crime in the city of Joburg as public enemy number one. When comparing achievements in the second quarter and the third quarter, it is evident that as a multi-party government, we are starting to get the basics right. Importantly, these achievements demonstrates that the Department of Public Safety is in good hands under the leadership of the Honorable David Tembe. Speaker, as Action SA, we believe that to have South Africa on the right track again, we must start by fixing the basics of service delivery in Johannesburg. If Johannesburg works, South Africa works. Speaker, no country can prosper without the rule of law. For this government to attract investors in Johannesburg, we need to double our efforts by increasing the presence of law enforcement officers, targeting drug dealers, syndicates that hijack buildings, and those that continue to break bylaws in the city of Johannesburg. Speaker, it is important to acknowledge that there is still more that needs to be done. For too long, the law-abiding residents of Johannesburg have been living at the mercy of criminals. The time has come for the criminals to move out of the city of Johannesburg or face the music. This includes corruption. Speaker, we have inherited a broken city. We have inherited a broken city. It's a pity that there was a lot of money wasted claiming it to be a world-class city. There is nothing world-class city with broken streetlights and so forth. However, with the relaunch of Buya Mteto, It is only a matter of time before we reclaim our city and take it back to its glorious days. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Darosha.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I would like to speak on some of the 7 priorities mentioned in this report.
Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, crime prevention program.
Speaker.
Speaker, there's a hand there.
Speaker.
Crime prevention program. I'm glad that the department continues to implement the range of enforcement activities. The department makes mention of arrest of 24 people for the possession of illegal firearms. It might not look like a high number of illegal firearms in the wrong hands, but one has to take note that this is only 1/4 of the year. It is alarming that so many people are in possession of illegal firearms. 664 arrests for driving under the influence. That's also troubling, considering that it all happened within 3 months. Truthfully speaking, we are only mentioning the ones that we're not even mentioning the ones that were let go. 2,112 traffic-related enforcement operations are a good sign, just in 1/4. Mr. Speaker, we do need these operations, and one can never say that there are too many. By-law enforcement program, Mr. Speaker, here we are always falling short. I say this, Mr. Speaker, because no matter where I go across the city, by-law infringements are visible everywhere. Even if one tried to avoid seeing them, it would be impossible. If the department did 484 joint operations, I truly do not see a positive result emanating from these operations. As a ward councillor working on the ground at ground zero, I really do not see the ward-based policing working the way it was designed to work. I suspect that reluctance from JPD officers on the ground to enforce is mostly responsible for this. I note the 1,136 shacks that were removed during land invasions in this report, but why are individual shacks not getting removed from parks, etc.? Why is JPD failing to remove single shacks built on pavements and parks before it escalates out of control? Illegal signage is another scourge, Mr. Speaker. Looking at certain wards in the south and wards in the eastern side of Johannesburg, it is impossible to actually find a tree that does not have a sign nailed to it. Mr. Speaker, we are removing signs, but we are not punishing the people that put them there. They all have phone numbers. How difficult is it to find the perpetrators as they all leave evidence behind? Now we talk about illegal connections. I see nothing wrong with this report. Mr. Speaker, illegal connections are creating massive damage in infrastructure. They are damaging the grid so badly that sometimes they put blocks of residents in the dark for days and days. The city should devise a system that will punish people that connect themselves illegally. And we should also do more to punish the officials that assist the residents with illegal electricity, especially when they get sent out to disconnect defaulters and end up getting paid not to disconnect. On this, I also think that the community should be audited more regularly. Mr. Speaker, on this report, it looks like emergency proactive services are on the ground doing what has to be done. 722 liquor outlets inspected, 1,786 buildings were inspected, 1,438 flammable substances were inspected. Mr. Speaker, here the numbers do show good work being done. This, Mr. Speaker, tells us that someone is doing their jobs out there. Disaster preparedness and response. Mr. Speaker, from personal experiences, the disaster management team, in my opinion, are brilliant, and one should look more into them. The people working in disaster management are really committed, and unfortunately, they seriously don't have much to work with. We should really pay them more attention and do more to empower these people on the ground to help unfortunate disaster victims. God forbid, if we have to deal with a grand-scale disaster, I ask the city Are we ready to cope? Mr. Speaker, the IIOC, what can I say? We spent millions in the last 8 years with this grand plan of improving and upgrading and extending the CCTV system across the city. Mr. Speaker, millions spent, and in reality, we have gone backwards so far that we are touching base with the Stone Age. Mr. Speaker, ideas, exciting ideas, great plans with a good vision for tomorrow are shattered. We moved from a building in the inner city, Pelmo Towers, a small, simple setup that had eyes in most of the inner city. And we, the city, decided to acquire a massive building to house the new ambitious project. We did an oversight just a few days ago, and only 2.79% of the cameras were operational. Well, in camera numbers, we are talking in the region of less than 20 cameras.
Speaker.
Please, let's not forget that the report mentions 574 CCTV cameras. What happened to the 574 cameras mentioned? You see, Mr. Speaker, people's lives are at stake here. It is not a light matter, and we as a city should and must do everything we can to protect our people. Mr. Speaker, we now have an opportunity to remedy these fallbacks and work towards a better, safer future for our city and our residents. On the JMPD report, Mr. Speaker, as much as I understand the need to embrace the Buya Mutetu operations in the inner city, it is also unfair that most of the resources have been deployed into the inner city. What about the suburbs, Mr. Speaker? The residents also need to take back their streets where they live. As a matter of fact, that's where they are the most vulnerable. Deploying the bulk of JMPD as much as it was needed in the inner city, we should also create the balance and never forget that Johannesburg is one city, and that includes the suburbs around the city. A lack of law enforcement in the suburbs is quite evident. It's there for everyone to see. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge this council to make sure that a balance is created to safeguard our residents, not only at work, but also where they live. Our time is now, Mr. Speaker, to change this city and go forward with the best service delivery that you can possibly give our residents of Johannesburg. Like my chairperson always keeps on saying, it is the government's duty to protect its people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thanks for going.
Thank you, Carlos. Councillor De Rocha, you still had 1 minute left, but you were quite hasty in delivering your speech. Switch off.
I'll
Thank
finish
you.
on his behalf.
MMC Tembe.
Order, Speaker. Speaker, I think now we are sleeping now. Please wake up.
Bukai.
Is the Speaker there?
Sorry, Councillor Zita. Sorry. There was a name written over your name. That's why I didn't see it.
It's fine, I'll
I
get
thought
10
your
minutes.
name was removed. Please speak, Councillor.
Is that it? Give me how many minutes? Oh, okay, no, thank you. Nakenza Kunukwangari, Speaker. Greetings to the EFF party leader, Councillor Spetlere Rasurute, EFF councillors, and the rest of the councillors. Let me start. I'm rising on the item 22 and 61. Can I be protected?
Councillor Sitole, you were not in the house.
Councillor.
Okay, I'm starting with the quote.
Oh, yeah.
Open quote. Take only what you need and leave the land as you find it. Close quote. That is an African proverb. Speaker, as the EFF, we strongly believe that the DA-led multi-government party hates the poor, which is the black people. The operation of removing the poor landless black people in informal settlement in this cold weather is uncalled for. Speaker, 1,136 shacks, structures, and 110 bricks were demolished in this court by those ones. And then again, Speaker, it was black people that were left stranded. And they don't even have homes to go right now as we speak. Speaker, we call the city to expropriate all the abandoned buildings without compensation and use them for the offices and affordable human settlement. This is the perfect time to take advantage of the EFF pillar number 1 of expropriation of South Africans' land without compensation and for equal redistribution. According to the government of the day, there's no space for the poor communities in Johannesburg. As we speak, all City of Johannesburg fire station doesn't have ambulances. I agree with Councillor Maluleke there. But then again, the famous City 7 priorities are being talked about daily, and it's getting annoying. Okay. The city that gets things done will have acted like what they're doing with the Operation Eviction, evicting our people from their land. We like to put in record that the patrollers that are on the report are only operating where the masters are residing. We have never seen them in our township, never, never. And 90% of those robots are not working. And again, Speaker, can they explain that the CCTV surveillance footprint not extended to township? And again, it shows that this DA-led multi-government party is so detached to the township. They don't care about the township. They only care about themselves. Hence, right now, Councillor De Rocha stand and say, we're fighting for suburbians. We also note, again, Speaker, we also note that the job well done by Teachers Emergency Response Teams program, the department managed to achieve a total of 431 against a target of 150 for the third quarter. Item number 61 rather.
Councillor, your time is over. Thank you.
Speaker,
Your time is
no,
up,
Speaker,
Councillor.
let me close right now. You also gave me 2 minutes. Let me finish up
No,
right now.
Councillor,
I'm going
your
to
time
end,
is
I'm going to
over.
wrap up with the...
No, Councillor, your time is over. MMC Tembe. MMC Tembe.
I was counting, yeah, I was timing, it's not...
Thank you very much.
Thank you, MMC.
Behave, Councillor Zita, behave.
It's not us.
Speak out about the suburbians.
Councillors, I'm asking you to behave yourself. We've all given you the correct time. You can see your time next to your name. You saw your name. Look at the time next to it. We've timed it correctly. Please sit down, Councillor Zita. Councillor Zita, please sit down. Thank you. MMC, please deliver your address. Thank you. Councillors, please stop interfering with the mics. Councillor Zita, motsama hansi. Tsama hansi. Thank you. MMC, Mingasungul.
Mr. Speaker, thank you and my colleagues. Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody here who has made it possible for the public safety to be what it is and what it's going to be today. Our job as public safety is to protect the rights of everyone, regardless of your political affiliation. It doesn't matter to us. That's our job. I would like to thank our heroes who are at Dlamini right now, trying to assist the family to get a closure of the 6-year-old Kaya Magala. And I would like to thank our heroes who went to KZN and assist those who were affected by the floods. Everybody was saying that we don't have EMS. EMS, we have got professionals, and they are there and you are there to conceive. We might not have fire engines, but those are the professionals who are saving life. We have advertised the issue of the issue of the chief of EMS, no, the chief of JMPD has been advertised. We had no director at licensing. It's going to be advertised next week. We don't have a director at IOUC. It's going to be advertised next week. All these positions, it makes the people feel that they are being appreciated. So it's going to be advertised. Now, with the vandalism of infrastructure, yes, opposite where I'm working, they didn't just break the robots, they took them out. That's how serious it is. The executive mayor and ourselves, we had a meeting with the Minister of Police, the National Commissioner of Police, and we are going to establish the unit that is going to deal with infrastructure. With regard to EMS ambulances, we are trying our best. We are submitting a report that will either come here, but it will be decided by the mayoral committee whether that report is going to be accepted. We are trying our best. Yes, I visited Drisik with former Mayor Masondo, and we have visited Ivory Park, where we saw that it is dark. You are telling the truth. Crime happens because it is dark, long grass, but this long grass and darkness didn't start this year. It started long ago. Now we are trying and we'll do our best to fix it. Now, so most of the things what you are doing is we are applying to SAPS that the second-hand goods must be extended to JMPD so that we'll be able to enforce the law ourselves. The visiting of the nightclubs.
MMC, there's a point of order. Councillor, on what are you raising?
On a point of order, sir.
What is the point
I
of
think
order?
rule number 72. Speaker, I think we must be taken serious here.
What is your point
He's
of order?
talking about something serious, he's laughing at us. Some of us, we live there. That grass that he's talking about, some of us, we walk there every day. So he mustn't come here and make it a joke.
It's not a point of order. If you
Please
I
take
can't
us
allow
serious,
you to get
MMC.
into a debate. We are not on a debate. MMC, please
Thank you. If you are offended, I apologize. Is my apology accepted? Thank you. Yeah, now, where I'm working, I'm not working on individual. All councillors here, we serve them. So it's not an individual. Including your party, we've got a program that we're going to deal with it in your area of jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you, MMC. Chairperson Maila. Councillor Zungu, stop it.
Mr. Speaker, permit me to express my sincerest thanks to the senior management team of the department for their unwavering support of the oversight work of the committee. I would be failing in my duty if I don't recognize the important work done by the men and women in the department who risk their lives each day in service of the residents of our beautiful city. I am immensely grateful to my colleagues on the committee for their evident commitment to the cause. Without their support, I would not be able to function.
Councillors, please.
Honorable Speaker.
Will you stop doing that?
Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends that Council approve the Public Safety Department's performance report on the committee's oversight report on the department for the third quarter of the 2021-2022 financial year, covering the period January to March 2022, of course, taking into account all of the observations and recommendations made therein. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maila.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Councillor Maila. Councillor Maila.
Yes.
Councillor Maila, I'm addressing you. I think you should be speaking more often because then at least you get some laughter instead of fighting. Thanks.
Yes.
Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 22.15 and 61.4. Are the items agreed to? Thank you.
Sorry, councillors, we're moving to item 23.
Yes.
Ke mogale, o ba swere mogale. O ba swere mogale, mogale.
Councillors, we're on item 23, which is a performance assessment report for the Transport Department for the 2021-22 financial year for the period January to March 2022, read together with item 24, which is a performance assessment report for the Johannesburg Roads Agency Limited for the period for 2021 to 2022 financial year for the period January to March 2022. Also read together with item 25, which is a performance assessment report for the Johannesburg Metropolitan Bus Services for the 2021-22 financial year for the period January to March 2022. And all those items are read together with item 62, which is an oversight report of the Transport Section 79 Committee on the third quarterly performance assessment report of the Transport Department, Metrobus, and Joburg Roads Agency for the period January to March 2022.
Thank you very much. Chairperson Alexander.
Thank you very much, Speaker. It's a little tough to follow my colleague. Yeah, but I shall try. Speaker, I rise to table the Transport Department reports for the third quarter reports. I'd just like to mention that the committee will be keeping an eye on the Metro bus and their compliance certificate, achieving their compliance certificate with the gas for Metro bus. We all know that this will go a long way in the dual gas system, and we all feel the pain when we fill up our tanks of petrol, that it is imperative that Metro bus receives their COC certificate and quickly. It is noted with concern that the Transport Department spent 14% of their operational grant. This is extremely concerning and needs to be put on record that the JRA basically has been hobbling along for the past 2 years as the department only returned back to full workforce in February this year. Mr. Speaker, I table the quarterly performance report for the Transport Department, Metro Bus, and for JRA. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Nkoko.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to all councillors, residents of City of Johannesburg, PAC constituency, applicators who are still languishing in jails for fighting settler illegal colonial regime. The Pan-Africanist Congress of the People of Tanzania note the report with a concern. Oh, you can hear me? Okay. Okay. I'll be loud. I will be loud. Greetings to all councillors, residents of City of Johannesburg, PAC constituency, applicators who are still languishing in jails for fighting settlers' illegal colonial regime. The Pan-Africanist Congress of Tanzania, of People of Tanzania, note the report with a concern. The infrastructure is decaying in the City of Johannesburg. There is a lot of potholes, manholes, which even caused the second life of a child in 3 months. Sadly, and shame you on Speaker, you asked us to observe a moment of silence for Europeans in Ukraine, but the Council did not observe the moment of silence for the African child who died in Soweto, Dlamini. I would like to read a quote from Dr. Joseph Ben Jochan. The worst part of our enslavement is not the shackles in hands, it's the shackles on the mind, close quote. Self-hate, Afrophobia is a weapon of mass destruction deliberately designed by colonial masters to divide Africans and rule them. Isolate.
Africa.
Councillor, can you switch off your mic? Thank you. Councillor Kanyile.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to greet our caucus leader, MMC Mabaso. I raise on the item 24. Speaker, indeed, we are committed to the safety and secure city. The IFP would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the performance of our GRA road agency in the quarter in question, noting the fact that the GRA had a backlog of the pothole repairs, patching, road resurfacing, to name the few. Speaker, due to the reason we agreed in this House, the GRA managing up to the scale. Speaker, the road repair in the city remain the challenge in the region, such as region A, B, F, and G. But we are hoping that we receive the special attention through the help of a resurfacing program. Speaker, vandalism of our infrastructure remain a challenge. Vandalisms of our traffic signal, theft and the manhole cover is a challenge. But that does not mean we can use it as an excuse of a non-service delivery in the southern region. Speaker, we also note the support of giving to the SMMEs and the EPWP, work opportunity created. But we appeal to all the opportunity touched to the heart of our underprivileged in our township and informal settlement. Speaker, the lack of the plant contract has given the GRA the negative impact. So we are pleading to the GRA to get their own tools rather than depend on the service providers. Because as we speak, we are still waiting for the tender to be approved so that we're going to get a service provider. Speaker, I would like to plead to the GRA to frustrate the process of the rehabilitation of the bridge. With those words, Speaker, the IFP is supporting the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mugabe.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to our caucus leader, Spetlele Rasirute, who lead us from the front. And a special greetings to our EFF councillors and all councillors in the House. Speaker, I rise on item 23, 24, and 25, and 62. That are the performance assessment reports for the Transport Department, performance assessment reports for the Johannesburg Metropolitan Bus Services, and performance reports for the Johannesburg Road Agency for 2021-2022 financial year for the period January to March 2022. Speaker, the EFF in its manifesto speak about the state capacitation to do away with tenders and consultants. Indeed, from these reports, it is an evident that the move should be done now, but not later. In the period under the review, the department has spent millions on consultants, which is unacceptable. In doing its work, the JRA must seek permanent solution to the problems rather than tick off the boxes which seem to be the order of the day. Many of the roads where potholes were filled, those roads need to be redone as they are beyond repair. The EFF nevertheless notes the report with the above concern. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nkomo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I rise to speak on item 23, which is the performance assessment report for Transport Department for 2021-2022 financial year for the period January to March 2022. Speaker, having listened and engaged our residents through IDP and budget consultation processes, it can be said that our residents are desperate for economic growth and opportunity. Opportunity which can only be realized through affordable and efficient road and transport systems connecting our residents to existing and future economic zones. Colleagues, our city currently has 2.2 million young people within our borders, and 55% of that number are unemployed. The question then is, are we working towards improving service delivery levels in line with our specific mayoral priorities, namely an inclusive city, a business-friendly city, and a smart city? In answering this question, there is a need to look at what has been achieved in this quarter under review. In line with ensuring an inclusive city, the following achievements should be noted. Against a target of 20,000 trips during the quarter under review, 34,939 passenger trips were achieved and recorded. 2, the process towards the operationalization of Phase 1C is at an advanced stage. This, in line with our mayoral committee decision, the bus procurement process for this phase is also at an advanced stage. 3, construction has resumed on the route between Orlando East to UJ Soweto campus and is currently sitting at 72% completion, which represents a significant amount of progress. In line with delivering a business-friendly city, skills development remains a crucial aspect towards honoring our existing service level agreements and ensuring that overall customer satisfaction is achieved. The following were achieved under this area. One, we welcome the training and capacitation of identified public transport operators. And then two, 42 staff members from the transport department were trained in various fields such as occupational health and safety during the quarter under review, compared to 0 in the previous quarter. The signing of 3 agreements with public transport operators as part of preparations towards the operationalization of the Ria Vaya Phase 1C services is also a step in the right direction. It must also be noted that several temporary jobs were created during the construction phase, and in the process, 88 SMMEs were supported during this process. In our efforts in leading a smart city, the Transport Department is moving full speed to deliver a well-functioning and smart integrated transport network in the city to create accessibility and ease of movement for all. The residents of Region G will be happy to hear that work on the development of Region G Transport Master Plan is in progress and on schedule. The same can be said about residents of Randburg, Zandspruit, and Diepsloot, as work on the nodal master plan is taking place as scheduled. Finally, what would a smart city be without automated fare collection system? With the tender for a new system already out in April,
Councillor Nkomo, your time
commuters
is
can
over.
look forward to a new and improved fare system, which should improve their daily experience
Thank you.
drastically. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Potter.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 24. The quarterly performance of the Johannesburg Roads Agency for the third quarter. Whilst we are extremely thankful that the JRA has returned to full force mid-quarter and has had a greater focus on attending to the service delivery backlog created, with the JRA not being considered an essential service, a decision which was illogical and which should never have happened and which should never happen again. We remain concerned about the poor state of our roads, be it potholes, reinstatements, road markings, missing street signs, lacking road name signs, or the painting of curbing road name signs, damaged barriers, and the like. It is still early on in this new government's tenure, and we look forward to conscientious and better managed spending which will ultimately improve the quality of our road network. Furthermore, the committee has requested better quarterly reporting by ensuring that these quarterly reports have more substance and detail, which they currently do not have. This makes it impossible to conduct oversight on a ward, never mind a regional basis. Our more detailed concerns were raised in the Section 79 meeting, and a list of around 33 questions was submitted to the JRA for answering, and we look forward to receiving the answers to these questions at an upcoming Section 79 committee, where we can provide constructive oversight on services provided by this entity. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor Tefu.
Jamani ke ngithome ngokulochisa. Lochise nina abantwana beNkosi engibusako uMabhoko wesithathu. Inzala kaNyabela ugijika Mphezeni umlayo yedwa onganamlweli. Ngithi nginganilochisa njalo ngilochise uSoswebe omuhle umma uEunice Mgcina nesekela lakhe umma uBrenda Dami. Ngithi lochani bantwana beNkosi. Ngisuke lapho bese ngilochisa umbutho omkhulu wesitshaba, umbutho owenza izinto bona zibe nje namhlanje iAfrican National Congress necaucus yokana nenthunzi ke zabona umkhandlu nabo somkhandlu. Ngiyanilochisa ke bantwana beNkosi nonke. Ngithi akwande. Speaker, I am not going to be long. However, I know that I've been given quite a lot of minutes, and I hope they are not going to be subtracted. I don't know, but I'm sure that you're going to protect my minutes. I have noted, Speaker, that out of those 16 KPIs for the period under review, at which 2 KPIs were not achieved, it is not something which we can take home and celebrate and say, when you want to get 10 out of 10, therefore 2 could not be achieved. My teacher used to penalize me for that. But I understand what could have led to you not achieving your targets as per your intention. It is not that you did not want to achieve those targets, but you just do not know how. Because sometimes you need knowledge and you need institutional memory to understand how to carry out your duties. Perhaps if you consult some more on this side, then you'll know how to carry out these duties. Because we have seen these things happen, we have seen these things being done, being carried out, being implemented for the past 26 years. So, Speaker, as I am talking to you today, out of 107,000 of targeted trips for a Metro bus, only 93,000 were achieved. And here we are dealing with transportation that needs to enable our communities to get to work and back from work. But we also take cognizance of the fact that Metro bus is still concentrated in the leafy suburbs. And in the township, it is not yet accessed. So that is the fact as well, Speaker. We need to remind this House that for a very, very long time, employment equity is still sitting at 25% at Metro Bus. And that constitutes a shame. That is a shame. And I doubt if you are capable enough or you are in position to have that addressed. And Speaker, we would have wished to note, because one of the honorable councillors actually did highlight the fact that numbers do not lie. However, we would have wished to note that 9,532 potholes, that which were repaired during the quarter under review. However, we find it difficult, and we find ourselves compelled to highlight that most of the supposedly repaired potholes have already eroded due to poor qualities. Because all you are chasing is numbers, but not quality. And remember, these supposedly fixed or repaired potholes were happening in the areas where we reside. These are the areas where we are driving. And instead of having them resurfaced, you decided just to chase numbers so that you can take home the glory and use them as your trophies. That is highly unacceptable, because in the leafy suburbs, you are doing a great job. So you're only looking forward to reverse the gains, you know, that the previous administration achieved on behalf of this beautiful city of Johannesburg. So this is only a receipt good enough for wasteful expenditure, because as councillors, what we're going to do is to put back those priorities which we sent to our regions to get those potholes fixed, which were not fixed. There's no way that we can actually report on something that it is not there. We're going to revisit those that you are claiming to have fixed so that we can come back and refix again. But that is going to be a wasteful expenditure of our taxpayers. While we are also tempted to note the 98 SMMEs supported against the targeted 60, we all know that perhaps This was not as a result of the generosity coming from this administration, but rather because the people themselves are putting more pressure whenever there are opportunities that are happening in their areas. Therefore, they get absorbed, not because of perhaps the city can plan better, but it is because of there was a foundation that was laid before you took over. So you were supposed to utilize that foundation to shine, but the reason for you not shining is because you don't know how these things are done. And the snail pace at which you are operating actually is creating a lot of hopelessness, more especially in our black townships, such as Brandfisherville, Tsepisong, Doornkop, Matholesville, Solplaki, wherein if things goes as they are, it is going to take us 40 years actually to have all our roads, gravel roads upgraded. Instead of you putting more money in our township, you have cut budgets to that effect and moved it elsewhere. So we are saying to you, Nick Tommy Road between Matholesville and Davidsonville in Princess is damaged beyond repair and need to be redone. At Malupi Street, Zone 8, Ward 43, it also needs a refurbishment. So we are saying to you today, as the African National Congress, we would like to note the report. However, we know that for you to succeed, you need to consult the African National Congress because it is only the ANC that knows how. Thank you.
Come to my ward, I'll show you the bus.
Councillor Mabunda.
We are going to teach
Councillor
you how.
Mabunda. Thank you. Councillor, can you switch off your mic? Please continue, Councillor Mabunda.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Greeting to Speaker, caucus leader. Speaker, I rise on item 23, 24, 25, and 62. Metrobus. We'd like to congratulate Metrobus for improvement in providing services to the community. 94% achieved against the target of 90 trips. In the previous government, taking Metrobus was taking a risk with your job because most of the buses was not reaching their destination. Now, Speaker, Metrobus is able to transport more than 12,000 commuters to work daily. On that, Speaker, I'd like to thank our MMC of Transport, which tends to be one of our own dedicated and committed MMC, Funzela Ngobeni. Metrobus now refurbished 90 buses, which 6 will be finished this end of financial year.
We can't see this person that is speaking.
Councillor, will you stop talking without me allowing you to speak? Councillor Mtrina, I'd really like you to speak to this councillor. That he must stop doing that. No, I'm not going to allow you. You've already spoken. No. Please continue, Councillor.
Oh. Thank you, Speaker. On JRA, we thank the great work which it's done in Soweto and other areas of resurfacing and closing the potholes, which was a big challenge to the community for the past years. Speaker, saving people of Soweto is good as saving people of Sandton. The main thing, they are people of city of Johannesburg. Speaker, if by somehow we get an open taps in transport, we'll definitely close them. Speaker, as Action SA, we note and approve the report. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor van der Merwe.
Speaker, I rise to speak on item number 25, the performance report of the third quarter for Metropolitan Bus Services. And I'd like to note that there has been a steady progress.
Councillor, can you just put the mic in front of you? In front of you? Yep,
That better?
that's fine.
I'd like to note that there's been progress in various areas and the level of revenue remains below target. However, the entity only returned back to full capacity during this quarter. Of the 150 buses running previously in the previous quarters, they've now returned up to 265 buses out of 365 that are fit for purpose. As noted already by other speakers, the refurbishments, as noticed here, the refurbishments is nearly complete with only 6 buses remaining in the last quarter. Already been discussed that 93,000 planned trips out of the 107 were only met. That's 87% versus a target of 90. What was failed to mention is that the passengers conveyed on an average on a daily basis was 16,229 versus a target of 10,000. So even though we reduced less trips, there was more passengers.
Councillor van der Merwe, there's a point of order. Councillor, what's your point of order?
It's on Rule 72. We would love to pay attention to the councillor's speech. However, we are struggling with the listening and hearing. Can you please increase the voice? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, but there's also quite a lot of laughing and making jokes, and I don't know how you hear through that. Because I can hear him, but Councillor, please put the mic close to your mouth, then it will be louder. Thanks.
Okay.
Like that. Thank you.
On the financial side, we note that there's a surplus of 80 million over the period and the reduction of the liability from 105 million to 24 million, with no unauthorized fruitless wasteful expenditure. Of the a new project run by Metrobus, align 179 of their buses to be used as mobile billboards, even though a great initiative, it didn't get off to a fine start, with 2 of the contractors being terminated through defaulting. Still, Metrobus managed to make over 100,000 in the quarter versus that. The payments of 30 days, very encouraging to note that 99.47% of all payments were achieved in that. I think it's already been discussed that 16 out of the 18 KPIs were met. We've already mentioned the planned trips that weren't completed, and then spend against capital expenditure was not achieved either. While the vacancies remain at 20%, it's pleasantly noted that 12 new apprentices in diesel mechanics and auto electricians were appointed, plus 40 additional professional learner drivers. So while we see the focus as being a low-cost provider of public transport going forward, their strategy has been enhanced through the proportional investment in a robust revenue collection system, in providing adequate fleet and ongoing enhancement fuel management systems, as well as the replacement of the aging fleet in question. The replacement of the fleet will be discussed later in item number 36, and the procurement of the automated fare collection system we should see arriving in council shortly, as that tender is out for consideration at the moment. Having said all
Thank you,
that,
Councillor.
we'd like to make the performance noted. I thank you.
Thank you. MMC Ngobeni. MMC Ngobeni.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and greetings once again to all our colleagues in the House, the fabulous 44, plus fabulous Mr. Chairperson Maila. Speaker, I think I've noted the inputs from the councillors, starting from the chairperson, particularly when she spoke about the capex spend, which is sitting at 14%. I can give her comfort to say a lot of invoices are being processed as we speak from the JDA, and I'm hoping, and I think I've got confidence that by the end of this financial year, we'll have spent close to about 100% of our capex. I also note that Councillor Nkoko has indicated the issue of decaying of our infrastructure, which is correct. Our infrastructure has decayed quite a bit, not a bit, but a lot. And there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done, including putting a lot of resources, especially with regards to capex. But we will do with what we have. I think the budget that is being approved for road maintenance and rehabilitation of our roads, we will make sure that it's effective and it's used efficiently. Councillor Kanyile, Speaker, has indicated and has acknowledged the work of the JRA, particularly with regards to clawing back on the backlog. He did also highlight the challenges as well with regards to infrastructure. We note that. He makes a point that we should get our own tools, meaning that we must scrap tenders. I will leave that to the national government to decide on. But at the moment, we still continue to get service providers to assist with our specialized equipment and so forth. We will try, Councillor Kanyila, to fast-track the rehabilitation of that bridge that you have indicated that you want us to do. I think is the M1, which you wanted to indicate. We will definitely be zooming into that one, ensuring. Councillor Mohapi, thank you very much for your comments. We know that you have raised issues as well about the roads and the potholes and all that. We are working around the clock to make sure that we claw back on that backlog. Councillor Nkomo has noted the achievement at Metro Bus, at the department as well. We note that, Councillor, thank you very much for acknowledging the work that has been done and the progress that we are making, particularly with the AFC procurement. It's one of the key issues that we need to finalize, especially for Metro Bus to be able to start making necessary revenue. Councillor Porter, thank you very much as well. You have noted as well your concerns about the backlog. As I've indicated, we will be working very hard to make sure that we claw back. The 33 questions sent to JRA, they will be responded to and they will be sent to the chairperson as to be done accordingly. Councillor Tifo, unfortunately, sir, we can't consult with the ANC. The Auditor General, Zakani Maluleke, has pointed a very bleak picture of the municipalities that are run by the ANC in the main. So we can't do that, you know. Let's work with you at least here in Joburg, you know. But yeah, we will make sure that we improve. Look, it might not have happened in your area, Councillor Tifo, but we are doing a lot of work in townships. As the people of Soweto, of Alexandra, as the people of Ivory Park, as the people of Slovoville. We are doing a lot of work there. But anyway, we will come to Brownfisherville. I've committed to you that we're going to work with you to make sure that we do a lot of work that needs to be done in Brownfisherville. It has been a forgotten community for a long time, and I'm glad there's a councillor that is now concerned about this community. It seems like the previous colleagues didn't care there. So, but we will assist you to make sure that we do that. Thank you very much, Councillor Mabunda. From Action SA, we note that you are following on the achievement, and please don't only give us credit, criticize us as well when we don't do well. Councillor van der Merwe, your sound was quite bad, but I did acknowledge some of the progress you have mentioned, particularly at Metro Bus. So, Speaker, We note all the comments and the inputs. We will work very hard to make sure that we improve in all the 3 portfolios that we are running. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, MMC, just in time. Chairperson Alexander, just to close off.
Thank you very much, Speaker. We ask that before we finalise this item, I'd just like to take the time to thank the officials who come to the committee prepared and professional, the work that the committee has done in the last quarter, and to the support staff that supports us in the Section 79. Speaker, I ask that the Council notes the reports. The recommendations are on page 23.2, 24.11, 25.7, and 62.11 to 62.2. Thank you.
Councillors, is the recommendations agreed to? Thank you very much. Councillors, it's 9:30 or nearly 9:30. No, Councillor, I didn't say you must stand up. And I've promised that this is the time that we will cut off so that you are able to come back tomorrow morning fresh, so that we deal with the rest of the items left on the agenda. So have a good night and see you tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.